Hello, and in this part 2 video I'm going to describe a time when you looked for some information, and you should say what it was, where you looked for it, why you needed it, and explain what you did when you got the information. I have decided to talk about the time I looked for information about hotels in Seoul. I'm planning to go to South Korea next year, and therefore I needed to do a great deal of research for this forthcoming trip. I can't remember when I did the research. I'm guessing it was roughly 2 months ago. Hang on, no, it would be longer than that. It would have been about 6 months ago. In the past, when you were going on a trip, you had to use a travel agent's or a guidebook in order to find out stuff about hotels, etc. Nowadays, however, it is possible to get all the info you require at the click of a button. Having never been to Seoul before, I found the amount of information quite overwhelming. There are literally thousands of hotels to choose from. Because I am travelling there with my 2 children, I would prefer to have accommodation that is family friendly. So I searched on a number of travel blogs written by people with kids and looked at their recommendations. Then I looked on TripAdvisor to see the ratings of these particular hotels. One of the major difficulties was that there are so many to choose from, so my shortlist was actually an extremely long list. There are a number of factors to take into account, such as location and cost, so I did quite a lot of detailed research comparing prices and locations. I know I sound like a geek, but I made an Excel spreadsheet with all the information, and then I was able to compare them better. Eventually, after hours and hours of research, I finally booked a hotel, and now I can start planning the other details of the trip, such as the day trips, etc. The internet is an amazing resource, and I'm grateful to be able to read reviews before making a booking. However, it is an incredibly time-consuming activity for a person like me who is a perfectionist and likes every detail to be perfect. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the language used here. I spent a long time thinking of what to choose in terms of the information I was looking for, and I thought a hotel was the best one to do because most people could talk about booking a hotel. You don't have to use Seoul and South Korea. You can use a different country that you may be planning to go to in the future. And even if you're not planning to go anywhere, just imagine that you are. So I've decided to talk about whatever topic you get. You could start with this and it immediately impresses the IELTS examiner because you've used the present perfect. Then I've switched to I am planning to go to, because here you've got some present continuous used for future. A great deal of research. Research is uncountable, so we need to say things like a lot of research, but this is a little bit more complex. A great deal of research. When a trip is planned, it's forthcoming. That means it's coming up in the future. And these next few sentences I've put in because I wanted to use good grammar and good discourse markers, and you can use this sentence for any topic which is about describe a time. So I can't remember when I did the research. I'm guessing it was roughly 2 months ago. I'm guessing because you've got some present continuous in there, and instead of saying I think, roughly meaning about. Hang on, this is very informal, and it's what you say when you're saying like, oh, just a moment, wait a minute, hang on. So can be used in IELTS speaking. It would have been. So I'm thinking, when was it? Oh, it would have been, or it must have been. Very good use of grammar here. So try and just learn this sentence, and if you've got any questions about when you did something, then use this. Rather than just saying, it was 2 months ago. This is much more impressive use of language. In the past, when you were going, so I'm using past continuous now. a guidebook. This is a book that you can buy, and it has all the information about a country or a city in terms of hotels, restaurants, etc. In order to find out stuff is quite a useful word, quite informal. I wouldn't really use it in IELTS writing, but it just means things. The info, very good, useful word, short for information, and we use it all the time in speaking, but not in writing. And instead of saying on the internet, I say at the click of a button to make it much more complex. Here is some complex grammar. This isn't a grammar course, so I'm not going to go in to explain it and how to use it. But what it means is I have never been to Seoul before. Having never been to Seoul before, I found the amount of information quite overwhelming. When there's a lot of something and you just like, oh my goodness, I'm so confused because there is so much information, it's overwhelming. There are literally thousands of hotels to choose from. English people have started using literally wrongly, but it's now been accepted that we can use it in this way. And we're using it here to mean really lots of them. There are loads and loads of them. Present continuous, again, I've used quite a range of tenses in this answer. If you're aiming for a high band score, you have to have a range of tenses. Family friendly, obvious what it means, but not a lot of people use it, so suitable for families. Travel blogs. These are websites where people write about their experiences while travelling. Here we've got some good use of grammar. It's a reduced relative clause, so instead of saying which were written or which are written, just written by. Recommendations, whatever people recommend. The ratings, so when people stay in a hotel, on TripAdvisor, they give it a rating, a score out of 5. A short list. When you're making a list, you sometimes make a list of maybe 20, and then you reduce the list to maybe 3 or 4, and this is called your short list. Location, where it is located, the place. A geek. I'm trying to use some quite unusual language to make you sound much better and make you stand out and get a higher band score. A geek is somebody, we often use it to talk about people who use computers a lot or who work in IT, and it's somebody who is a bit obsessive about things and does things very seriously. We often say a computer geek, somebody who knows lots and lots of things about computers. So I'm saying I sound like a geek because I've taken this job very seriously, created an Excel spreadsheet with all the numbers on before booking the hotel. Eventually, so after a long period of time. The internet is an amazing resource, so it's something that you can use when we call books are a resource, the internet is a resource. I'm grateful, I'm very thankful. Time consuming, it takes a lot of time, so a very useful word can be used in IELTS writing as well. And a good word, even if you're not like this, just use it. Remember, I keep repeating this, IELTS is not a test of truth, it's a test of language, so get as much language in there that makes you sound like you know all these unusual complex words in English. A perfectionist is a person who likes everything to be perfect. So I'm saying I'm a perfectionist, and so this is why I spend hours and hours doing the research and looking on the internet, because I like every single detail to be perfect. So I hope you found that useful. I think even if you just know, now I'm going to talk about booking a hotel, that is useful, because when you're given these situation topics in the exam, it is very difficult to think of something quickly. So I think this is useful, booking a hotel, because you can get lots of good language in there, lots of good grammar. And the part 3 questions connected with this topic are, what are the kind of things that people can do when looking for information? Well, you can talk about things like going on the internet, because you have all of the information you need at the touch of a button or at the click of a button. So hopefully there is lots of information in here that will help you with part 3 as well. Thank you very much for watching.